What's going on, wrestling fans? You're listening to the Wrestle Report Episode 2 with Phil and Don. I'm Phil.
I'm Don.
And that's Don right over there. We're coming at you a little later in the week than we normally plan to. Donovan had some issues earlier this week. If it was on WWE, we would call it he spent a lot of his time at a local medical facility this week. But he is doing better, and it wasn't COVID. So, Don, glad you're doing better. And
no Rona over here. No,
nothing like that. But we're catching up on the past week and a half or so of wrestling, and unfortunately, we do have to start on a little bit of a somber note because we did lose a legend this week. Kamala, real name James Harris. We lost at age 70. It was yesterday or late the day before. That's someone who, when you think of the early 90s of WWF and things, he's definitely a name that'll come up when you talk about greatest gimmicks. Don, real quick, do you got any good memories of Kamala that you could share?
No, unfortunately not. But I used to watch a lot of throwback stuff, and I respected him because he was, of course, African American, so he was like a pioneer for other African American wrestlers. It's sad because I read the story about that. I guess he had unfortunately he had got COVID-19. It was fine, and then he had a heart attack or cardiac arrest later on in the days. That was reported.
Right.
Yeah, it's sad though. It's definitely sad.
Yeah, he's someone who he hasn't been in the public eye for a while, and I actually found out that he was wheelchair ridden in his later years. Actually, lost both legs at the knee, so he was living that sort of way. My only real thing I can say about him now is, back in when he debuted, he was, this Ugandan giant from another country, never been to America, and also never was a wrestler. He was just picked out by his manager. And the thing that I appreciate more about it now is his matches, he didn't do wrestling moves, because why would he? He was just a random guy from Uganda. Like, he had a great, commitment to the gimmick that for a long time it was just chops and strikes. Eventually he would do the splash after running off the ropes. But definitely one of the greatest gimmicks of the early 90s. And Kamal, we do raise our glasses to you, whatever you're drinking. Rest in peace. You now get to the wrestling ring in the sky. So we did want to get that out of the way. Wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't get that. Got some notice on that here. But let's jump into I think one of the bigger things going on right now that has the world talking is the Raw Underground segments that Raw's actually on right now as we record this, but the original one was last week. I didn't quite know what to make of it. I think watching it this second week, it's definitely giving me a little more, protection that it's going to be not terrible. The first week, it kind of hit me, by surprise. I don't know how you felt. It was really close to being my Who Booked This Shit segment of the week. It was this close. Luckily, something passed it, and I do feel at least that they could go somewhere. But how do you feel about the Raw Underground segment?
I mean, it's weird because I missed the announcement at first because I was out before. I missed some of Raw last week, and I turn on my TV and I see this going on. And I'm like, am I watching Raw? And I had to make sure I had to look at the logo, the emblem. Like, okay, yeah, this is WWE. All right, this is something different. So this must be new. I mean, I like what it shows. It's something new. I'm always okay with something new. Give it some time to get better. I didn't really like the response from a lot of people on Twitter, but I enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, the concept I definitely have no issues with. It's just I think it did kind of hit people out of nowhere. It's something they probably could have done some build up to. Maybe a week or two ahead of time to let you know that the situation's happening. But I don't know. I mean, Shane McMahon, I think it's pretty well documented. He's been a fan of like MMA and things like that. He actually wanted to buy the UFC about 20 years ago before Dana White did, and he, still kicks his dad for not doing it back then. So if this might be Shane's, little playhouse version of that, I'm interested to see if any stars come out of this. Like Dolph Ziggler was on it in the first week.
Earlier, just now, earlier they had Riddick Moss in there. I mean, but
Yeah, true. We might have had a little freeze up there on the screen, but it looks like we're back now, so I'm sure you guys could hear all the way through anyways. But yeah, I don't know if these are all NXT trainee people or, are they getting these from somewhere else? One thing I will say from last week is the Beatdown Clan part. I think they fit in there really well for them to show up in their suits and start throwing people
yeah,
around. Actually, I'm sorry, I called them the Beatdown Clan because that was
I was like, wait,
MVP's.
who?
So
Hurt
MVP did the
business.
same thing in TNA. It was him, Lashley, and Kenny King, if you're familiar with him. So you just take out Kenny King and you put in Shelton Benjamin, and you have the Hurt
Yeah,
Business, which also a great name. Same general concept and everything. But I see a lot of promise for that group. I don't know if MVP will take the title from Apollo at SummerSlam, but how do you feel about this new? There was rumors that it was going to be a new Nation of Domination stable,
I'm all for it.
you're right. But I think this one's a more modern version. So like, how do you feel of Hurt Business so far?
I like it a lot. I hope they keep on adding other people. I really hope that Cedric and Ricochet go on there.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like a tag team too on there in there. So he can get all the gold at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get MVP can get the US. You got Shelton having the 24/7 championship. Somehow get Bobby Lashley the world championship.
Yeah, that's
And
way
then
overdue.
Ricochet, yeah, way overdue. And Ricochet and Cedric winning the tag team titles, and you have all the gold. It'll be the next evolution.
I do think that because right now they're kind of feuding with Cedric and Ricochet. So I don't know that you get both of them. I think you might get one to turn on the other.
Yeah,
I could see that happening. But I guess who's the third guy? They did just bring back Mustafa
Mustafa,
Ali, and he's kind of been having their back, and it is good to see Ali back. I don't know that he would
definitely.
quite fit the Hurt Business, but I could see you putting Ricochet or Cedric Alexander in a suit and having it work out.
I ain't gonna lie to you. You know who I think it's gonna be? I think it's gonna be Cedric.
I could see Cedric a little more, honestly. I think he fits the vibe that they're going for. I mean, if Ricochet did, he would have to not do what he's known for, because you're not going
Yeah,
to boo Cedric or Ricochet if he's flying around doing flips and stuff. It's kind of hard to boo that guy. Whereas Cedric could, slow his pace down and definitely get that situation going.
Cedric too. All Ricochet and Cedric, Mustafa, all of them need big pushes for at least some type of title. They need some type of title on them because those three guys right there, they're talented. They're in mostly all their matches are good. They could sell. They could do some crazy moves. They're good. WWE need to tighten up on that.
Yeah, I mean, Ricochet had he was U.S. champion and everything, and he just stopped, dead cold for no reason. So I don't know if it'll be a while till they realize how good he is again. But yeah, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. There was a lot of rumors that he was going to be the hacker, the SmackDown hacker. I think the hacker eventually did some stuff on Raw too. And then the other rumor was the Iconics, and they both came back within like 3 weeks of each other. And I don't know if they just dropped the hacker altogether. I don't know if it was ever supposed to be those people. But I feel like I don't know if that gimmick's kind of done now, or if it's moving into, which we'll talk about it in a little while, the group of masked guys that ended SmackDown, which I'll go ahead and throw out there now. That was actually my who booked this shit moment of the week. If you know if you saw the end of SmackDown, they had a name, right? I tried to write it down.
Retribution.
The Retribution, right? So I'll go ahead and you can jump on yours next, but I'll go ahead and do the who booked this shit right now. The way it was done, you can't do this with no fans because you ended up having them go into the crowd and beating up the quote unquote fans. It didn't like it was a badly done version of like when the Nexus debuted. I think that's obviously what everybody. I did get a laugh when they took out the chainsaw and like cut the ropes up.
Yeah, me too. I cracked up for that one too.
Because I can at least say, all right, you're not going to bring a chainsaw in the arena when there's people. So I mean, I guess if you ever wanted to use a chainsaw, now would be the time. But and the other thing, and like, listen, like I'm a short dude, but everybody in that group looked like 15 years old. Like even when they were yelling at the camera and stuff, like you could see where they were on the ropes. Their heads were like barely over the top rope when they were standing like in the ring. There does seem to be one female in the group from what I could see. I don't know if that's someone we already know or someone we're gonna find out later.
You want to know something?
Hit me.
They there's been a lot of rumors from like Meltzer and stuff that that like Vanessa Bourne is supposed to be part of it probably.
Okay.
Chelsea Green, I heard she's supposed to be part of it. And then Oscar just won. Oscar's going to SummerSlam.
Oh yeah. All right, your stream must be a little ahead of mine, but
I'm sorry.
It's all good. Any rumors on any of the guys in it? Because I couldn't usually you can line some people up even when they're in a mask, and I could not put a finger on anybody.
Well, supposedly those people, those 5 people there weren't the actual people. That's going to be. They're just going to do it. They just step in coming in.
Okay.
Supposedly Dijak and Tommaso.
Ooh. As a team, that's supposed to be 2 right there. Okay. Yeah, and then Vanessa Bourne and Chelsea Green, the girls. So supposedly Dijak and Ciampa's Twitter feed, Twitter had one black. Their profile pictures are black. Supposedly, I haven't checked this. Don't quote me on this. I just heard this. And they've been like cryptic tweets and stuff. So that's what I've been hearing. I mean, I could see Ciampa leading a group like this, and I could see him having, Dijak as his muscle. I could definitely see that. I think they make a great team. Not that WWE necessarily knows what to do with teams these days. It might be better as here's a guy in this heavy situation. But I mean, I'm not giving up on it yet. But the way it was done on Friday was definitely a what am I watching? What the hell is this? So for that, it will be my who booked this shit moment. So I'll go ahead and throw it over to you. What was yours from the past week and a half?
All right. Well, so mine is the same on the same show. Okay. Actually. All right. So Sheamus versus Matt Riddle. Okay. Sheamus versus Matt Riddle. Right. Great match. I loved the match. I loved it. I didn't like the ending because they had, of course, they gotta have someone to DQ. So Chad Gable comes in. I believe he suplexes Matt Riddle, and then they scumble out and DQ and stuff. But my thing is, why are they booking Chad Gable to look so weak?
Yeah,
because look at this, right? After he got beat down from Matt Riddle, he gets in the Sheamus gets him into the ring and then bro kicks him twice. I'm just like, come on, man! You're making him look like a dweeb, and he's supposed to be getting this heel turn supposedly, and it's killing my vibe.
Have we done this on the Thursday or the Wednesday night whenever we are normally planning to do these? I actually had that as like a main headline, the fact that Chad Gable turned, his heel turn, because the thing that's bugging me, are they still calling him Shorty G even though he's a heel?
They're still calling him Shorty G. They need to stop that.
I mean, that's a reason enough to turn heel right there. Like he could have, cut a promo saying I'm an Olympic athlete and you're calling me Shorty G, you're making me wear this stupid neon clothes. Like that, I don't know if he's given a reason for his actions yet or anything, but that's, to me, I mean, I love Chad Gable a lot. Like American Alpha was great, but even when he was with Shelton, and I enjoyed even his teaming with Bobby Roode, even though it was a weird pairing. But they
I like him as a singles. He's great as a singles.
Yeah,
he's also awesome as a tag team though.
Yeah, I mean he's proven that he's a great tag wrestler, but I'd love to see him get his single run. But and he's kind of aligned with Baron Corbin, which is an easy way to become a heel because that's just a heat magnet, right, no matter what. Yeah. But my thing that bothers me, I'm almost if it gets him a better role on the show, go ahead, turn heel. But he needs to, when a guy turns heel, eventually you need to find out why. You don't just do it, and then, oh, I'm a heel now. And then you.
Yeah, he needs to do some type of promo work to tell us, why is he a heel now?
Yeah, and I think it's easy enough. You people have been calling me Shorty G. That'd make anybody go crazy, I think, after a while. When I first heard that, I was, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was, a heel calling him that, and then, it was part of the – I think because he had a thing with Sheamus. I think at one point, or somebody like that.
And then that's when the short jokes started coming.
Yeah, and I thought it was just part of that storyline, but to completely change his name to that made no sense at all. So that's good. I didn't think we would get to that, but having your who booked this turn into that, So I think we can add on the fact that the heel turn makes no sense as of now. We can tack that onto yours there too. A little bit of NXT news. We talked about it on the first episode, and we didn't quite know where it was going. Now we do. The Pat McAfee Adam Cole drama spills over in the absolute best way. This was, as you know, I'm watching AEW live and you're watching NXT live, and it's one of the few times I've wished that I was watching the other show, because you tell me that he beat up, he beat the crap out of Adam Cole, and I wanted to see how. I'm like, did they have him? And it was beautiful, like the way they set up, the way he was leaning over the table, and McAfee runs up and punts him, and his sell of the punt, he's knocked out. For all we know, he's still laying there. Like, I applaud Adam Cole for the way that all went down. And it made sense. People say it buried Adam Cole. No, it didn't. If an NFL punter who's in better shape now than he was when he was playing catches you with a lucky one, with the thing that made him millions of dollars for the leg, like, you can get knocked out by that. It's not like if he punched him and knocked him out, I'd agree. I'd say no, that don't make no sense at all. Like, even a normal football player doesn't have boxing strength to knock somebody out with one punch. So the fact that they did it with a kick, I loved it. I loved the whole build-up. They dragged it out a day or two. Triple H went on one of the ESPN shows. Pat McAfee was on Get Up with Mike Greenberg, because that's his most normal one that he appears on, and fully accepted it that way. And I also want to, when they pulled him off of that situation, and Triple H runs up and gives him a huge shove to get, obviously we know this was a work because this was the ending period, but it still is the realest looking thing they've done in a while. If you hate McAfee, good, because you could say, oh, look at him coming in here doing all this, and if you're a fan of him like me, you can still enjoy it. So no matter how you feel about McAfee, I think people are going to enjoy the situation anyway. What'd you think of that whole segment?
It was awesome. All right, so like you said, I was medical leave. I was in the bed, and I literally, when I saw it, I was like, oh shit! I yelled it. I had nurses coming in asking me, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yes. It's just this was great. This was awesome. It was funny because I could see it getting crazy, because at first you didn't see this part, but Beth Phoenix and Pat McAfee was getting into it on commentary.
I did hear this. I did hear about this, and then she walked off.
She walked in and she was done for the night. Mm-hmm. So and then that's when Adam Cole came over, and they started getting into it, and I was just like, something's gonna pop off. Something's gonna pop off, yo. And then it was great. It was freaking great. That made NXT to the next level. Yeah. To old Raw level. Oh man. Now, because now, I mean, like you said, I'm upset with people saying that too. That they saying that it buried Adam Cole. Mm-hmm. It didn't bury Adam Cole at all.
I think they found the one way that it didn't. They found the how can we make it so that your chin is just sitting out there for him to run up and punt? You're climbing over a table. Guys have your arms. McAfee, you could call it a cheap shot on McAfee's part if you wanted to go that route too, really. Yeah. So I feel like they found the one way that it wasn't a burial, in my opinion, with that. But yeah, I did hear about the Beth Phoenix thing, and then they did a good job of making you, because he showed up there. They took a picture, shaking hands. Supposedly they had buried the hatchet before the show started.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They had him come out and call. You might know what the match was because I don't, but he came out and sat in on a different match. And said,
for the Tegan Knox versus Hartwell.
Okay, so he came in and followed that match. All right, guys, thanks for having me. He's on his honeymoon, so he's like, all right, I'm gonna take off. And then he came back. So they even really made you think for about half the show that all right, I guess things are back to normal. They just wanted that little spike and whatever. I did expect NXT to win the ratings on that. Maybe the reason that they made it seem diffused, it didn't bring the viewers. If they would have had them get a shouting match at maybe the beginning of the show, people might have stuck around to see how see how it was going to eventually pop off, because AEW actually had its highest rating of the year. Yeah, it cracked 900,000, which I enjoy when they win. Not that I have anything against NXT, but NXT's not going anywhere. AEW is its own company that needs the big ratings to into what they're doing. AEW was great, typical great show like they always do. Nothing in that show made me think this is going to be the highest rated show of the year, but it's just they call lightning in a bottle. They usually sit between 700,000 and maybe 800,000. That's kind of where they've been good. But to crack 900,000 is pretty impressive, and I'd like to see that keep going. One of the biggest things coming out of that was, of course, I wasn't too keen on this happening. They had the debate between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. I knew it'd be funny, but that's a little too WWE set up for me. Whenever there's a podium in the ring, I tend to tune it out because that's just not what I'm trying to see, But it was fun. And of course, the moderator, people were having speculation. There was a lot of speculation at one point it was going to be Lance Storm, and that actually would have been pretty funny to see too. But it turned out that it was Eric Bischoff showing up on TNT for the first time in 20 years. And that was pretty cool. Him and Chris Jericho played off each other well. They said, "I've known you for 20 years and I never liked you," and he said, "Oh, it's been 23 and I feel the same." Like, they had a great little back and forth there. But Eric looked good. I don't know what you think, but he still has the camera presence, and it was good to see him.
Yeah, it was. I liked it. It was pretty cool, especially nostalgia. That's a nostalgia hit right there.
Yeah, of course.
Just because this Eric Bischoff used to be all on your TV screen on TNT.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was going to be some type of bad blood between Jericho and him, because they fell out so horribly
right
when it was with WWE. But well, on stage they fell out. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how it worked behind the scenes. They're probably best friends.
Sure. And then WCW, at least on camera, like they had their
the issues,
quarrels in the past or whatever. But AEW, I'm curious if they keep it going this coming week. They do these theme. Well, I guess first I'll say, like, as far as the nostalgia hits, I like how AEW does it. They do it in very small increments. Like, they're not, like, I don't doubt this is the last time we see Eric Bischoff, but it'll probably be a while. I don't think, I don't think he's going to be there was rumors, is Eric Bischoff going to be the GM of Dynamite? And I was like,
yeah.
They don't do the authority figure thing. I mean, Tony Khan's the authority figure. We know that in real life, and he's around enough that it makes sense. And they have a good system where Tony Khan has just let us know that this match has been made for next week. That's all you need. You don't need him and he stated he doesn't want to be an on-screen character. Like, he feels like he's known enough in the universe of AEW that, I'll just stick behind the scenes. People know who I am. People know that I'm the one making things happen. So he's good with that. But with next week being the Tag Team Appreciation Week edition of the show for AEW, we thought it'd be a good idea for this week's top 3 to be your top 3 favorite tag teams of all time. So, Donovan, why don't you hit us with your 3 first?
All right. Number 3. We're gonna have Team Hell No.
Okay.
With Kane and Daniel Bryan. I like the difference between the two. I felt like they was always arguing more than they was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number 2. This is not traditional tag team. This is 2 single stars ended up getting into a tag team and they won championship. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, something happened to one of the tag team partners, and it went south from there. But we got Triple H and Stone Cold.
Yeah, the power trip.
Yeah. It was good because, of course, they had two of my favorite wrestlers ever. So it was perfect too, because they it was funny to see them mesh together after all the time they wanted to kill each other.
Yeah, you never thought it would work, but it kind of worked,
It worked. They won a tag team, and they went on a little run too.
Yeah.
Until Triple H blew his knee out.
Right, and they won all the gold. They had that moment where they were World Champ IC, and they won the tag belts from Brothers of Destruction. And no, they had a great run. That was that's something, if you just saw it on paper, you're like, that will never work.
That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work at all. But it did. And then number 1, of course, I said it last week, DX.
Yep.
Because I remember back in the days, I used to be the ones that doing the little chops. I love their promo work together. They play off each other perfectly. You could tell that these guys actually work behind the scenes to actually do great things on screen. I'm talking about the 90s more than the 2000s. The 90s, there was more shenanigans.
Right.
And when they did it with Vince McMahon the Spirit Squad and the boys.
Yeah. The interesting thing about DX2 is like you said, you have to clarify. So you got the 90s and you got the 06 reunion.
Yeah.
Obviously, people love the 90s better, but the 06 incarnation, while a little more goofy, that was the only time they were really a traditional tag team. Like, they were actually going for the belts. I think they won the belts at some point. Before, it was more of a, like, when you think tag team in DX in the 90s, it's more the Outlaws. Like, the Outlaws took care of the tag team stuff. DX, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg. But it was cool for them to come back all those years later and be the traditional tag team that maybe they would have been if Shawn Michaels didn't have the back injuries after WrestleMania 97, 98, whichever it was. But
see, what's crazy though too? I'm not even really talking about the Outlaws and X-Pac.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Rick Rude and China.
Yeah,
and Triple H and Shawn.
Right.
Just because I like the skits, I like all the
skits are great,
all the taunting with Sergeant Slaughter, Bret Hart. That was great. Like you said, that was a time when they wasn't going for the tag team. They was really going for these independent championships.
Right.
The IC and the World Heavyweight.
You talk about DX skits, and we didn't really start our show when this was still relevant news, but when Shad Gaspar passed away from Crime Time, my favorite DX skit is actually when they're in the parking lot. They got banned from the building, and this is the 06. But they
I think that was the 4th of July version, and they had the barbecue outside.
And they have to scalp tickets from Crime Time, and Shawn Michaels speaks jive to get them to understand what they. That is one of my favorite things ever. So like, we didn't really get to talk about the whole Shad thing because we didn't really start this podcast until it was, a couple weeks past. But I'm glad we were able to bring that in because it's that team was great. They could have done a lot more with them. I think.
Yes.
I think the Street Profits, in a way, they're making up for lost time. Granted, the Street Profits probably a little more athletic version of them, but they were great when they were around. And Shad actually has him and Muhammad Hassan, actually, the guy that portrayed Muhammad Hassan, worked together on a comic book that Muhammad Hassan got. I only say his work name because Anthony Cooper. I don't want to butcher it, but anyway, they worked on a comic book together that he got published after Shad had died, and you can actually go out and buy it now. So one of these days, I do want to track that down. It's his legacy. It's called Assassin and Son, which being that this guy died saving his son's life, it's very fitting. And it's almost eerie that they were working on that storyline before, all this stuff happened. But no, that's cool, though. I am glad that we get to at least mention Shad on here because that was one thing I regretted. Like, we didn't get this rolling quite enough that, we could probably do a whole show on Shad if we had tried at the time. But as far as any honorable mentions, who would you round out? Maybe your top 5 if you got 2 more in there.
Crime Time was number 5 actually.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, I don't know if you heard me, but that theme song just took me all over it. That yo, pop a 40 and check your rolling. It's crime time. Brooklyn.
They did eventually cut the Papa 40. I don't know. It's probably one of the things Vince didn't know what they were doing, and he was at Raw and was like, we can't say that, and they took it out. But no, at first, I don't know, 6-7 months, they had that in the beginning, and then it just went to yo, it's crime time. Like, they cut that whole part out. But no,
and then number 4 was Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
Okay, world's greatest tag team. Yep, and Team Angle, depending. But no, they were fantastic. I think Shelton obviously was the Shawn Michaels and the Marty in that Martin Jannetty situation. But Charlie Haas is really no slouch. It's a shame he didn't get to show it in WWE as much. Like, he had his little team with Rico, which that was funny to watch or whatever, but not quite. He did end up doing more in like Ring of Honor and stuff, and he got to see more. But no, they were a fantastic team for whatever reason. Like, when I, growing up around that time, I was still living at home. Even my sister, like, if they were on, like, she would sit down and watch, like, because they were easy to identify. They were in the matching, suits and everything. I don't know. Even she enjoyed watching them, like Shelton Benjamin especially, just like run around. Like, it was hard to. Not to mention they had such great teams to work with back in those days, like Los Guerreros and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, so my top 3, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go old school with number 3. I'm going with Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, the Brainbusters, because when I started watching in like '99, but I immediately went back and bought all the tapes I could get from like 3-4 years earlier. So like even though I started in '99, I was kind of '96, '97, and I caught back up to it's like binging a show. It was at the time for me. And they were more on WCW and stuff, but even their brief run in WWF where they did win the tag titles, I think only one time. They beat Demolition. They broke that 400 and whatever day reign. They were the team to finally do that. And they just looked like the toughest guys in an era that they had more of the cartoony. We talked about like Kamala earlier and, Doink the Clown, and those guys were still relevant at the time. They just looked like the toughest dudes on the planet. And of course, all the memories connecting them with the Horsemen too. So I got to throw them in there. I'm a big Arn Anderson mark even to this day. So I'm glad he's doing stuff on AEW, and Tully Blanchard too with Sean Spears. So it's cool that they've moved into that manager role, and every once in a while they are in the same ring for whatever reason, and it's cool to just see them still giving back to the business. Number 2 may shock you. It shocked me when I was trying to come up with this list, but like the way I'm looking at this is almost I needed a team that's still working today. Like I wanted one of them in my top 3, and I'm gonna have to give that to Gallows and Anderson. And a lot of people might not know. Like just based, if you only know them from Raw and like back in AJ Styles, you might not agree. But if you've seen their work in New Japan and how good they were, and Carl Anderson alone is, a main event level guy. People look at him strictly as a tag team guy now, but he could easily be like a main eventer somewhere else. But there was
definitely studs in New Japan.
Yeah, and I really like big man, little man tag teams when they work out. Like so they're like the perfect example of that too. And Doc Gallows, back when he was Festus and everything, like to see him morph into this badass dude, like one, you're happy that the Festus gimmick didn't kill his career completely.
Yeah, for real.
And the fact that he was able to, become one of the greatest, according to WWE, the greatest team in the world because they did win that trophy at
Saudi they did in Saudi, yeah.
So I do have to give that. And like we said, given our top 3 from last week, it kind of gives away my number 1. You have to go with the Hardy Boys. But I don't know that I would have put them number 1 a couple years ago because, I thought their course had run. But the fact that they're still relevant to this day, obviously they're in different companies now, but that late resurgence as the Broken Hardys and being in Ring of Honor and TNA and then coming back to WWE, winning the titles, they're now one of the longest like tenured teams. Like they've won almost every incarnation of an American tag team title you can have. And like, it just went from like it's my favorite wrestler and this is the team that he's in. So like, no, they have the body of work that can make you, say they're one of the best ever too. So the greatest tag team in all of space and time, as they would like to say now. But no, I think this late run definitely put them up in the number 1. So I try to keep it to 2 so we can round it out, but I'm going to sneak a third one in there. First honorable mention, I'm going to go with the Brotherhood of Cody Rhodes and Goldust, or Nightmare Family as they're in AEW. I just think it's crazy how, they're, I think, 18 years apart, I think is what it is. And the fact that everything was able to fall into place for them to not only team together, if they did it once, it would have been awesome, but for them to come together, for Dusty to be a part of that, they were the first team to beat the Shield. They beat them for the tag titles. It was something you never thought you would see, and the fact that you did, I think, is pretty awesome. And even the Stardust Goldust version, while goofier, it was enjoyable to see because you would think, Cody, that being his brother, I'm sure that's, being such a big fan of Goldust to do your own version of it before it went south. Because obviously the Stardust thing, it's overstayed its welcome, but for the first year, it was still entertaining. I think even he still was having fun with it at the time. So for them to really have both versions of that to hang their hat on, I would go with that. A somewhat forgotten team by some, I'm going to have to go with Paul London and Brian Kendrick.
That was I was going to actually tell you, bro, could I add one more? And they was going to be that team.
Yeah.
I just love those high flyers, yo.
Yeah, the fact that, they were both, cruiserweights, and when they put them together, you thought it would be just kind of like a throwaway thing. And that run they had with the tag belts, really, because they didn't do a good job, getting any other teams ready to take the belts. They even had Ashley Mazzaro as their manager for a while. They wore the, opera masks for a while on their way down to the ring. They'd run down to the ring and everything. And obviously they had that great TLC match with Eminem and the Hardys, where Joey Mercury almost loses his nose. But just two great guys, and it truly is. I mean, Kendrick is there now. He won the Cruiserweight title finally in this version of it. But two guys that maybe wouldn't have had a spot otherwise, and they really made the best of it. And they easily one of the most memorable teams in SmackDown, which I say that in a sense that a lot of people do kind of forget about them because the tag scene was down. That's probably why they were champions for so long. But no, I definitely think they deserve recognition, so I want to throw them in there. The sixth one that I'm going to sneak in there, because I did watch TNA for so long, I have to put Beer Money in there. James Storm, Bobby Roode. That's another team that you wouldn't think would have worked. The theme song was great. The Beer Money, and he would, James Storm would ride down on the Boozer Cruiser. He turned this beer cooler into a go-kart, and he would ride it down to the ring, and they were heels at one time. They were faces, and they had some of the greatest matches. I mean, they had great guys to work with. They had AJ Styles and Chris Daniels as a team, Motor City Machine Guns, who I almost put on here because they're also fantastic. But yeah, I had to sneak the sixth one in there because Beer Money also out of everyone mentioned by you or me, I guess aside from DX, probably the best tag team on the mic, out of everyone we just mentioned. So I like to give because TNA really did have a heyday that not everybody witnessed. There was some great talent in there. Obviously, both those guys have gone on to work other places. Now Bobby Roode is, he was part of that release, or is he still floating around?
No, he's still around. He's just stuck in Canada, I believe.
Oh, okay.
The border restrictions.
Yeah,
that's what's going on with Sammy as well too. But
yeah.
I was like itching to put New Day in.
Mm-hmm.
I was itching to put the Usos in, of course. It's just I like those nostalgia teams. I want to see a little bit more, even though the New Day done everything. They got 8-time tag team champions at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Over recording.
Well, I do think it's nice that, it sucks the way it happened, but Big E is going to kind of get his singles run without having to break up the New Day.
That's great.
They're both hurt, which sucks, but the fact that he can just go out, see how far that can go without breaking them up. Because I think we talked about it last time. If Kofi was going to win the world title, I thought it was going to come at the expense of the New Day. And they figured out a way to make that not happen. And if Big E can get to – I would like to see him as a world champion. I think he has the ability to. I think I'd be satisfied if he's like a mainstay as like an IC or US champion. Like that, I'd still be happy about that. But no, that's a world.
Some type of singles championship.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know what's something crazy, bro?
Hmm.
I did not know that Big E was the only. Was the first African American NXT champion.
Well, he was the first NXT champion, period.
Yeah. Oh, that is true, too, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true. Big E Langston.
And that's proof that how good, I remember back then, because he had the I need 5, he would pin guys for a 5 count back in the day. That was his gimmick. So I think he proved at the time, he knew how to be the guy. I mean, NXT was nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah.
Back then, it was basically an independent territory, but he was the guy for at least a short time. Or actually, you know what? I misspoke. Seth Rollins was the first champ, and Big E beat him after that. So I did misspoke. But he was in that early time. Because Seth Rollins did win the tournament. So, yeah. I'm glad I caught that now so I didn't get, murdered in the comments later. But no, Seth Rollins, then Big E. But Big E, again, he was the champion when they got the deal for Hulu. So anyone that really started watching it, he was already the champ, I would say.
Yeah.
But no, he did. He proved that he, has the ability to do that. I did have one other thing, a little off topic here, but this is the closest thing to breaking news we've had in a while because this only came out an hour ago. Anyone that's seen this, obviously over my right shoulder here, you see the NWA Championship. I'm a big fan of the NWA, and ever since COVID, they have not been able to do any sort of – they have their free YouTube show. They have not run any sort of shows. They've kind of been in limbo, and there was even speculation on if they were going to have to shut the doors. And it came out that they're going to work with United Wrestling Network, which is a company out in Long Beach, California. Starting next week, they're going to have weekly pay-per-views on the Fight Network or the Fight app. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So I just want to throw that out there. And supposedly Billy Corgan, the owner, says they're going to have at least one championship match a week. They're going to work with the other independent companies out there in California to give them more talent. You're going to see some cross-promotional stuff. It's probably not ideal. I think they like working independently, but I'm just glad that they're going to, be able to put shows out together because they were doing a lot of good stuff with their YouTube show there towards the end, right before COVID. They had to cancel their Crockett Cup, which is a really cool like tag team tournament that the NWA does every year. They're gearing up for their second one in this iteration of the NWA, and they had to cancel that. It cost them a bunch of money to not run that show. That was, I won't call that the WrestleMania, but it's easily like their SummerSlam. Like it was easily the second biggest show that they would have that year. So again, big NWA fan. I'm excited to see them, come back in some capacity. I don't know the price of the weekly pay-per-views. I mean, I remember back when TNA in their early days, they were doing that weekly pay-per-views. They were like $4.99, every Wednesday or whatever day it's going to be on. So I'm definitely something I would support. I don't know necessarily if I get them every week, but definitely something I want to look into. So as that information comes out, I'm definitely going to plug it on here because if you haven't watched the NWA in this iteration, they do have a YouTube channel where their shows have been. They're little 1-hour shows. It's been described as the wrestling version of Instagram because everything is very quick. There's quick cuts. The matches are typically 5-6 minutes, and because of that, there's a lot of them in an hour. They have the old school. If you ever seen like the old Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes promos at the desk, they have that same desk that they do the interviews at now. So definitely check it out. It's called NWA Power. There's about 20 episodes of it out there now. I'm assuming they're going to do something similar with this company, but I did want to throw out there that NWA is alive and well. You can't kill it, which I'm happy to hear about, but that's some good. We started with some bad news, so I wanted to help close the show with some good news here. So you got any other closing thoughts here before we wrap up?
Nah, I'm fresh out. Yeah. This was a great show for today.
Yes, sir. I'm glad.
I'm sorry. Actually, I do got something. I'm sorry. When we was doing the show, as you heard, Oscar won. So Oscar's going against Sasha Banks at SummerSlam. Shayna Baszler was actually in the Raw Underground.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was kind of following that too. That fits her very well, though. Like that's something they can build up.
She beat up some chicks on there. It looked like, Randy Orton just beat Kevin Owens.
Oh, okay. Good stuff. So I think we're gonna get back on track here for a Thursday night episode moving forward. That's gonna attempt to be our night here. So I want to thank you guys for listening. Please leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you like the show. Interact on Twitter at PhilTalkSports and use the hashtag WrestleReportPod. Turns out just Wrestle Report links to another website that isn't us. So Wrestle Report Pod, give us your feedback. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.